Hi, my name is Alberto, and today I'm going to talk about my project during this semester, which is about energy. Well, first, I would like to start with this question, which is what is energy? Well, I have a little definition in here that says that energy can be defined as the capacity of the ability of a person or an object of making something. But also we know that there exists more of one types of energy. But in this project, I will only focus on the electrical energy. So, well, first I want to talk about a little bit of the context what this is about. And as we have here, electricity and magnetism um, were always investigated as separately or very different things. But it was not until 1875 when that these two concepts were joined in the formulation of the Maxwell equation, where electromagnetical phenomena are described in this investigation, in this formulation. And it's known that this was the first discover or the origin of the electricity. And well, nowadays electricity is one of the sources that has had one of the biggest development during an investigation during the past of the years. And well, one of the new uses of these have been into electrical cars, which seems to be a new um, option since these type of cars pollute less than a cars which use full um, the pollution is less than the common cars. Well, also taking into account that petrol, which we used to obtain this gasoline for the cars, is not a source that will last forever. So we need to start looking for new options to sustain our world in the future. Well, before this introduction, my experiment is kind of the electricity applied. Um, well, my experiment will be just to show the use of electricity. It is a pretty simple experiment, very easy, but um, well, it is useful for me to show some of the investigation I have had and obtained. And well, it will consist on using two type of batteries from different voltage and two different motors also, which have the same voltage. But since the models that I had are from a toy, I could investigate and have more information of what these motors have um, in in them. So we'll first start. We I want to start with this, which are my variables studied and the materials that I need. So, well, first here we have my dependent variables as the force of the motors that will depend on the battery's voltage. This means that the bigger the voltage of the battery is, the bigger rotation my motors can reach. So also the less voltage the battery has, the less rotation it will reach. And well, also the second variable is the independent variables. For example, the wire I will use to plug my motors to the batteries will not affect anything in the rotation or in the voltages. The power the batteries will produce to rotate the motors will not affect anything. So this is my independent variable. And last we have my materials. The materials I use to this project, which I have already mentioned, are two batteries and two motors. The two motors are both of 5 voltage since they are from a car toy that I had. And the two batteries that are one of 9 volts and other from 1.5 volts, or these batteries from the double A, as we know them, which we use them in our remote controls from our TVs and this kind of stuff. So, well, now design was pretty simple. It was not a big deal doing this. I used the wire that I mentioned to plug the battery to the motor. I use two pieces of cardboard, which will help us to see better the rotation of this. Since the motors have nothing plugged like a wheel or something like that, I had to improve with these um, cardboards. And well, this is the final result. I put it into a base to make like this can be stand, and we can see how they were rotating. Now, since I had already made the experiment, um, I can get to my data, and this is the data obtained. In the first, um, at the top of this, we can see the raw data that was pretty much the first data I had from the first delivery, which I searched since these were motors from a toy. I had that these are normally from 5 or 6 volts, which can give us the RPM or the revolutions per minute that are from 1500,000 from 1600,000. Um, it will be depending on the volts of the motor and also of the batteries or the energy source we are using into them. And also I had the batteries that one is from 1.5 volts that as I already mentioned, is like the most common batteries, and the battery of 9 volts, which is this kind of rectangular battery that, um, well, the medition of them are in milliamperes. The first one of the first battery can reach uh, 1,300 milliamperes, and in the second one can reach to 1,500 milliamperes to 2,500 milliamperes. In the second one, I have this compilation of the data in this um, kind of box where I can see that a better data, and where also I introduce a torque that I will explain later. But here we can see how I now have the torque of the motor. Of course, the battery have none. The milliamperes of my batteries and the voltage that I have already mentioned. And in the last two um, data that I um, are from last delivery, I could make this comparison in first the milliamperes of or the power of my batteries, which we can see how it differs one from another. The first one is the battery of 1.5 volts, which from the investigation, I saw that it could reach just 1,300 milliamperes. And my last investigation that I made, I got that the 9 volts battery could reach a maximum of 2,500 milliamperes. That this is the power they can give to, I think they are plugged in, for example, in this case, to the motors. And well, the revolutions per minute that I have in the motors, as we can see, um, in the first, in the second table, I make the comparison between these using in one motor a 9 volts, the battery of 9 volts, And in the second motor, using the battery of 1.5 volts. And here is the only thing that changes because, as I already mentioned, the volts of the motor are both on 5 volts. And well, as we can see, using the 9 volt battery, I could reach the maximum of the RPM of the motor, which was of 1600,000. Um, and in the second motor, I couldn't reach the maximum of the revolution, but I had that is not a big difference. It just differs from in the second battery is from 1400,000, so it is not a big difference. This is the compilation of the data I had. We pretty much is the raw data, the comparison, and the table of data compiled. Well, this was pretty much all. In conclusion, I want to say that during these two deliveries, I have made investigation, the part of the investigation, the collect of data, and I just put them all together to show what I really did. I also implemented one new thing, which was the torque, uh, that as here we have, or we can see, I have the torque mentioned by using a formula that I investigated, uh, which was, I think, specific to get the torque of these electrical motors. So the formula was from the HP, which are the horsepower of the motors, multiplied by the RPM and by a constant, um, that equals of 5,525. And this is the formula, which is a general formula, or the simple that I could have to get to the motor um, torque. As well, this is just to show how electrical energy works. Uh, in We can see during this project that I have developed that using just two batteries, I could make these two motors rotate. And not only that, I could also have a lot of data during this investigation that I have already done. I could have the torque, the revolutions of the motors, the maximum and the minimum that they could reach. Also, I investigated about the batteries. So this had a really long and useful part of investigation, which will help me. And well, I just make this to thinking about in the future, or well, what we are living now of the this thing of electrical cars, which is a bigger work and is all this part of electrical energy used in real life in our life by using these cars. So well, I really hope that in the future I could reach that and make more investigation and developments in this thing of the technological world. That's all of my project of this semester. And thank you.